saw the fallen as merely more food. They were overjoyed. Perhaps they could satisfy their hunger, if a bit. A single ogre had fallen. Immediately, the orcs crowded the corpse and began dismembering it, drinking blood and devouring flesh. Oh, but that did not satisfy their hunger, no. But the orcs' bodies had changed. They absorbed the ogre's strength. Seeing their friends go down by lowly orcs, the ogres let out a scream of agony, lamenting the weakness of their overwhelming power. Gradually, those filled with power appeared from within the orcs. Devour our comrades and make their powers ours! Devour our enemies and make their powers ours! And again, they eat, without any fear of death. Someday, their power will grow and surpass that of their king. Their king, the ultimate orc, the Orc Lord. Their march continues, and now again, prey has appeared before them. The lizardman's head paled upon hearing the report. His greatest fears had come true. According to the report, the powerful ogre village had disappeared after a single day. They were devoured by the orcs. There was no more room for suspicion. You can do it. Click. Ha. The Orc Lord had appeared. If by numbers alone 200,000 D-rank orcs against 10,000 C-plus rank lizardmen, that could have been an unexpectedly even fight. However, now that the Orc Lord had appeared, they were no longer D-ranked monsters. It would be best to expect their abilities to have risen by 1 to 2 levels. At least, they would be C-rank. Worst case scenario, they would have the power of the C-plus rank. By numbers alone, relentless assault on our exhausted position would prove unbearable, and even a single loss could prove decisive. Moreover, due to the presence of the Orc Lord, he could not hope for their food to run out. Even if their numbers dwindled, their strength would instead increase. Furthermore, if there was any hope of reinforcements, they could barricade themselves in. But as things stood, that would be an end in a hungry death. They have no choice but to attack. The head bitterly concluded. Gavel, who he sent to gain the cooperation of the goblins, has yet to report back. However, if they waste too much time there, their enemy will only grow stronger. In the worst-case scenario, he might just have to lead the troops into battle before Gavel's return. Suddenly, he felt an aura stronger than he had ever felt before approaching him. The head decided not to show any resistance to this being. Calling for a subordinate, he ordered that the guest be guided in. The lizard men had previously collapsed some of the roots. People messaging me. Some of the roots of their natural labyrinth, and having those cleared by someone would be unpleasant. The being who approached them certainly had that much power. Now all he had to do was wait. Led by his subordinate, a single demon had appeared. Next page. Ha! Darkish skin, blue-black hair, blue eyes, and a height of 190 centimeters. For a monster, he had a rather slim build. However, his presence radiated composure and unblemished strength. A being from whom he felt overwhelming power. The head kept 100 warriors stationed around him. With a single word, he could command them all to arms. However, that would surely mean their deaths. Upon seeing this demon, the head felt that very fact.
Pardon us, we are rather troubled at the moment and cannot provide an adequate welcome. What business would you have with us today?
The young lizardmen warriors got angry at those words.
Why must we grovel before this suspicious character?
They thought. The head would normally praise such thoughts, but now it would only bring them misfortune. If they spoiled his mood, he could, without a doubt, massacre them all. The young ones have too little experience with the phenomenal. They do not have the ability to judge others' powers. However, contrary to his fears, no serious business. Calm yourselves. My name is Soe. My master wishes to form an alliance with you. I have been sent for that purpose. Think of me as a messenger. Rejoice. My lord has refused to abandon you. Moreover, he offers to become your allies. What be your response? Completely in contrast to his first statement, such a speech was delivered. The meaning of the words aside, that is, the message was brief. However, he seems to demand an immediate decision. But the head needed to think. Soe, so he called himself. This demon, a named monster with an overwhelming power, and such a monster serves someone else. If they side with such a being, then perhaps even the Orc Lord could be defeated. Moreover, they are offering an alliance and not servitude. That would mean that the lizardmen would be treated as equals. What choice did he have but to accept? Or so he thought. But at that moment,
Head, why do you permit him to run his mouth thus? Where he hails from, we don't know, but the proud lizard men shouldn't flatter such a pompous fool. Exactly. Gabble-sama should soon return, and then we alone could handle the lowly orcs.
it's a bit blurry, sorry.
Right. Their master probably fears the orcs and came to cling to us. Doesn't he simply want us to save him? How charming.
The ones who so shouted were Gabble's subordinates. Caught with his mouth open, the head's face twisted in horror and dismay. Even if you idiots can't understand the power of the man in front of you, to go and reject someone's offer of an alliance. Yes, his speech was slightly impolite. However, it is unbecoming for some foot soldiers to show disrespect to a messenger. Moreover, for someone of high status to himself, journey to us offsets any possible disrespect. He had thought he sent a group with an outgoing personality to the negotiations, but that seems to have backfired. Have we angered him? Thinking so, he looked at Soe. He had not averted his sight, but looked straight at the head. He seemed to have no intention of humoring the noisy idiots. The head felt relief. He could not let a group of ignorant people ruin the conversation.
Silence!
With a single word, he shut that group up. He then sent a signal to his bodyguards.
I will decide what we do. You have no right to speak here. Reflect on your foolishness tonight.
Gabble's subordinates he had sent to the prison. They were making noise on their way out, but he had no time to deal with them. And to the messenger,
I apologize for their rudeness. I intend to accept the alliance. However, I fear we must hurry. Normally we would select a neutral zone to discuss.
yeah, where's the mouse? Come on. Yes.
The details, but this may be currently impossible. Could I ask you to come here instead?
Hiding his inner nervousness, the head asked that question. To request someone of such clear superiority to appear before them, the messenger had every right to be angry. However, the messenger, with no concern for the head's worries, replied, Understood. To have received such a quick decision, my master will be glad. We are pleased to fight along with you. Now then, after we finish our preparations, we shall join up with you. Then you shall be able to have an audience with our lord. Act as you see fit. As if completely natural, so Soe replied, appearing as if he had never even considered the possibility of being rejected.
Had I refused, would he simply destroy the lizard men?
This thought filled the head's mind. He was certainly not overthinking it. The demon before him had enough power to do so.
We intend to join you in at most 5 days. Until then, do your best to...
Well, hold on, what? Oh, it's the wrong one. We intend to join you in at most 5 days. Until then, do your best to survive, and by no means should you attempt to attack alone. Leaving these words, the demon in front of him disappeared, without a sound, as if a passing shadow. 5 days. If they just needed to wait that long, they could certainly manage. The orcs may grow stronger, but they could now hope for reinforcement. How large the reinforcement would be, he didn't know. However, even if Soe were to show up alone, he could possibly turn the tide of battle. Clinging to this one hope and preserving one's strength is surely the best decision here. Having made his decision, the head declared,
Hold the castle until reinforcements arrive. Hold it, no matter what it takes.
And, waiting for the decisive battle, the lizardmen hid in the labyrinth. Gabble awoke. Then he needed some time to remember what had happened, and, filled with indignation, he jumped to his feet.
You have come too, my lord,
A worried subordinate had said.
I caused you some worry. Seems like they had set up a trap ahead of time. A trap, you say? Yeah, those Fang Wolves used an ingenious trick. They sent their master under the guise of a common wolf, inviting me to lower my guard. Such a dirty trick. Rulers of the plains, they called them. But they're just beasts who employ cowardly and cheap tricks.
I'm hunching up as I say this stuff.
I had intended to battle with them fairly, but it seems like I was mistaken about them. I see. So it was like that. Were it not for their trick, Gabble-sama would certainly be victorious. Is that how it was? Those dastardly wolves to resort to such dirty tricks?
Gabble nodded at such reactions. It was as they said. There could have been no other reason for his defeat. However, for the proud and powerful race to employ such dirty tactics, Gabble was disappointed in the wolves.
However, it is also true that we would have no use to take such cowardly creatures as our comrades. With that in mind, this might actually have been for the best. As you say, right.
Their group laughed loudly.
By the way, this is just my personal thought, but I find it strange how Gabble-sama has always stayed as the raid leader. What? No, I don't mean that he is incapable, rather the opposite. I find it strange that we keep following that decrepit head. Continue. Yes, I think that the old head should just retire and have Gabble-sama succeed as our leader. If he does, then the orcs would have no reason to look down on us.
Almost going to Mark Hamill's Joker here. I apologize. Next page, come on. Oh, did I go too far?
As you just said,
Huh? Sorry about this, guys. VR is playing up.
Yes. As you just said, we should display Gabble-sama's power before all the lizardmen, have him purge those who reject him, and start a new age for our race. What could bring our race greater joy?
Gabble nodded.
So you guys had thought the same thing, huh? I had just been thinking whether it was not a good time to make my move. Would you fight alongside me?
He looked around him. The lizard men could only imagine a new age unfolding before them. They were certain that they would seize tremendous power, and...
Will you represent us?
One of them asked. Gabble lightly nodded.
So the time has come. Very well, let us fight together,
He declared. Surrounding him, cries of joy could be heard from the lizard men. Thus, the fool has taken the stage, and thus the curtain rises as chaos spreads on that stage. Hello, Gecko. Chapter 33, Audience. The lizardman's head nodded once in response to the report on the progress of battle. Since meeting Soe 4 days had passed, tomorrow they would be reinforced. With no great casualties thus far, they'll most likely see the sun rise again. Orcs' attacks have intensified to the extreme. Depending only on their resources, the passageways are overflowing with orcs. Orcs were affected little by the labyrinth and merely swarmed through it. By placing traps along the passageways, they managed to decrease their numbers, if slightly, but still, thanks to the labyrinth, the lizardmen were able to avoid any real losses. The labyrinth diverges many times, and emergency escape passageways are still usable. They've been alternating the squads that fight the orcs most often, and quickly reinforce teams that have engaged the enemy. Since this battle is under his direct command, he has no intention of becoming conceited. Because the reinforcements are coming, because there is hope, everyone is somehow struggling by. In reality, those who have fought the orcs were surprised by their strength. These orcs were worlds stronger than the usual. Right now, a single orc can challenge up to 3 lizardmen. Moreover, their power seems to be increasing. This is, of course, the result of the Orc Lord's command. The head also strictly ordered that those injured must immediately switch out, since should the injury result in death, the orcs will only become stronger. Carefully, and without error thus far, they have been maintaining the defensive line. And only a day left. When the reinforcements arrive, they'll probably be able to make use of the terrain to crush every orc. At the very least, they could at least alternate with the members stationed at the most important defense points. Thus, filling his head with wishful thinking, the head relaxed a bit. That's when it came. The news of Gabble's return. Gabble was indignant. What's with this? The prideful lizardmen were cowardly hiding in their holes from some lowly pigs. He was going blind from anger. However, all would soon be fine. He had returned, and like a proper lizardman, would fight with pride. With that thought, he headed to the head.
Well done, Gabble. I presume...
Sorry, that's not his voice.
Well done, Gabble. I presume you've been able to obtain the goblin's support. Aye, we've been joined by 7,000 warriors. Is that so? With this, we'll somehow make it. In that case, let's engage the enemy at once.
After reporting thus to the head, he prepared himself for battle. Now that he had returned, he could not permit the orcs' selfish actions. Surely the head had been waiting for him to return. However...
No, the time hasn't come yet. While you weren't here, we had been offered an alliance. They will be arriving tomorrow, and then, after holding a strategy meeting, we will be striking against the orcs.
Completely out of the blue, such unthinkable things, the head had said.
What? The head was not waiting for me?
That thought what? It says led. That thought led to dissatisfaction, which further worsened Gabble's mood. To depend on some unknown reinforcement against some lowly orcs.
Head, if you send me out, I'll quickly crush the orcs. Order me to go.
His indignation growing, he was hoping to vent it on the enemies. However...
No, we shall fight tomorrow. You must be tired, so rest up.
Completely ignored. Gabble's mind went blank in anger, completely ignoring him and depending on some strangers. Unforgivable.
Head, no further. Stop this foolishness. You seem to have gone senile. You just don't see the truth.
Ugh, spitting everywhere. It's all part of the theater.
What was that? Gabble, what are you planning?
Up until now, he was holding back in respect of his father. In fact, there were many admirable qualities that he possessed, so Gabble was obedient. However, he refused to recognize Gabble, and that Gabble could not forgive. His time had finally come, that's all. So, nodding once, he shot his subordinate the signal.
Father, your time has come to an end. From now on, I am the new lizardman head.
Gabble loudly declared. At this declaration, the goblins noisily ran into the head's chamber. Armed with stone spears, they surrounded the head and his guards. Gabble's subordinates, the hand-picked elite, also readied themselves behind the goblins.
Gabble, what is the meaning of this?
Unable to understand the situation, the head raised a panicked voice. How unusual. However, that only pleased Gabble's superiority complex.
Father, good work up until now. Leave the rest to me and enjoy your retirement.
His subordinates then disarmed the head and his guards, and then Gabble took their heads, no, his father's spear, into his hands. A spear, a magical item called the Water Vortex Spear. It is the symbol of the lizardmen themselves, an item with overflowing magical power, held by the strongest lizardman. A weapon that was most fitting for Gabble, and looking at his father and the guards.
Leave the rest to me. You'll probably be restrained until the war is over, but bear with it, okay?
So he called out.
Wait, Gabble, stop this selfishness. At least wait until tomorrow.
Ignoring his father's pleas.
What an eyesore! Take him away!
So he ordered. Of course, he had no intentions of having him killed. He needed... Next page. Him out of the way, though. Gabble needed to personally beat the head. Of course, as a new hero who'd stand atop all of the lizardmen, such an event was necessary. Surely, then, his father would recognize his strength and praise him. The mere thought made him giddy. The new head, taking along his goblins, proceeded to take command over the lizardmen. They will soon hear about the usurpation anyway. And once they acknowledge him, they will set off to fight. Gabble could not imagine the possibility of defeat. His father's warnings were completely wasted on him. From the beginning, Gabble's followers were cheering on, demanding the opening act of the play. The ones he found in the prison were the same. Drunk on their praise, Gabble enjoyed sitting on the throne. His time had finally arrived. He had completely ignored the trivial things like an orc invasion. What? The head was tormented by regret. Don't be hasty. So he was told many times before, and this was the situation he had found himself in. He was certain in his control over his brethren, but to have been betrayed by his own son, this is very bad. If this goes on, the lizardmen will attack without waiting, and will meet certain demise. Making up his mind, he looked at the guard captain. He is another one of his sons, Gabble's brother. The guard captain noticed the head's signal and nodded. Go! The moment the head screamed that word, the guard captain broke free of the restraints and took off running. They needed to let their ally know about this situation. That messenger, Soe, did not hide his aura, so surely upon getting out of the labyrinth, he would know where. The next page is... He would know where to go. Betting on that fleeting possibility, the head sent his son out. He had thought about restraining Gabble's subordinates. However, he did not have the heart to hurt his brethren, so decided to simply escape. The head, intending to take responsibility, stayed in the prison, and prayed that his son may make it out safely. Only 5 days. That promise he could not keep, and now lamented his failure. Oh, and hoped that his failure did not result in them being abandoned. Surely he was offered an alliance because of some value they had seen in the lizardmen. Perhaps now they had lost what little value they had. Gabble was probably busy making his debut. In that case, no one will be sent to replace the tunnel defense squads. With reinforcements, the orcs will gradually grow stronger, and the defense teams will be eventually overrun. The women and civilians we had gathered in the center of the labyrinth will then be defenseless. Should that happen, but grieving won't stop this. We will defend them to the end. That was the head's decision. To buy even a little bit more time. That was the only thing he could do. Scene change. Side story. A wide conference room made from fragrant wood, a table that must have cost a fortune, a true round table capable of sitting more than 10 people. The number of chairs currently set, 12, surpassing the most extravagant designs. Even royalty would have had a hard time acquiring it. A rug that textile workers took more than 10 years to weave covered the floor. One wall was decorated by a painting of some wondrous landscape by a heavenly artist. Come on. Sometimes. Oh no, I turned 2 pages. Any article in the room would cost 10 years' worth of an aristocrat's income. And by the entrance of the room, a single man, dressed like a clown, refrained from entering, and seemingly to an empty room. For gathering despite your busy schedules, I offer my gratitude. Respectfully offered his greetings, carefully, as if to avoid losing the interest of the beings inside. Today's guests, they were those whom you must never anger, supreme beings. As if out of thin air, a shadow of a man appeared in one of the chairs, lacking detail, a hazy silhouette.
What plot are you intending to humor us with today? We tire of this. How about starting already?
A woman replied. I'm sorry. I thought it was the shadow. A room that was previously empty was now occupied by a number of auras.
Fret not, it shall be soon, no? The tragic birth of a new Mao.
Translation, Demon King.
Hey, don't say that. The ruler of Jura Forest has disappeared. A new one is needed, right?
Oh, sorry, I missed a line. A Mao, we have plenty of those already. Any more won't be amusing in the slightest, no? Followed by the Jura Forest line. God, I'm so bad at this, I'm sorry. In that case, shouldn't we just claim it for ourselves?
It's because of people like you that the non-aggression pact may be annulled.
Shut up, I know. And other similar egotistic conversations were held among them. The clown by the entrance felt as if covered by sweat from their very presence, and yet couldn't wipe it off. Because he is a demon, he doesn't sweat. He, the demon Gelmudo, simply wished to explain the stage that he had prepared for them.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to explain the play, if you may permit.
Fearfully, he called out. Click. Come on, next page. The noisy conversation suddenly stopped, and all eyes focused on Gelmudo, intimidating him without having said a word. Were they insulted to be interrupted by a lower-rank Gelmudo? Worry spread in his heart. Were he to earn their displeasure, someone like Gelmudo would be erased in the blink of an eye. Contrary to his fears, begin already. Didn't I already say I was bored of boredom? They permitted it. Relieved, he began the explanation. He had planted the seeds of conflict in the forest. There were some that failed to bloom, but there were plenty fruitful ones. He had also intended to plant some seeds among the ogres and the treants, but those seemed to be refused. The ones he manipulated were still powerless. However, on the ones who rejected being named by him, the ogres, he had passed his judgment. So, overall, he was satisfied with the results.
Now then, let us open the curtain on this tragedy. The threat of the Orc Lord met with an alliance of the other races. The one left standing shall be proclaimed the new Demon King.
Right. This was all planned to create the new Demon King. That task was left to Gelmudo. He was overjoyed with this order. If he handled this well, he could obtain a Demon King for his personal use. He worked hard towards that end. Until now, for 300 years, he had been planning a species war. However, Veldora's disappearance caused the plans to spiral out of control. So he gave up on having a war between the named monsters born from the goblins, lizardmen, and other such races. Instead, he sent out the Orc Lord. This was not in the plan, but it was something he could use well. An Orc Lord, loyal to his orders. The game's rigged, but there's nothing he could do about it now. After crushing the goblins and the lizardmen, the Orc Lord would become the new Demon King. He also got rid of those annoying ogres. Now there was nothing to worry about, as long as the orcs avoided invading the treant's territory, that is. All according to plan. All according to Keikaku. He had feared that many demon kings... he had feared the many demon kings that had been manipulating him until now, but he finally had the chance to return the favor. He would soon be able to manipulate a demon king, a birth of one loyal to his command. Hiding his excitement, Gelmudo continued the explanation. He could already see the Orc Lord that would bow before him. The day his ambitions would be fulfilled would come soon. He honestly believed that. That's the end of that chapter. We got a sneak peek of the Demon Council. I'm going to take a quick drink. All right, I'm back. Is everyone still with me?
Shadow's a butt.
Chapter 34, The Outbreak of War. That day, the Orcs' army filled the marshes with thousands of troops. If you looked from above, you'd see them swarming the tunnels, as if an incessant maelstrom. However, those present were only a small part of their army. The Orcs decided to invade by circling around the lake. With little resistance, they had occupied the marshes and proceeded into the caverns. However, a commotion rippled through the swarm, for suddenly someone had ordered the lizardmen to attack. And that was the cause for the outbreak of war between the orcs and the lizardmen. The rulers of the marshes, the lizardmen, possessing high battle abilities, they can maneuver smoothly through mud or swamp. Hiding among the grass, they approached the orc army and attacked undetected. Everything went according to plan. He had locked up the previous head in an underground chamber, reorganized the army, and had them relocate above ground. And, quickly assuming battle formations, he began an attack on the orcs. Gabble was not completely incompetent. He did lack the ability to see the bigger picture, but he certainly could lead a squad in battle. Ha! That ability he had inherited from his father, the former chief, or head. The lizardmen respected strength. Thus, they wouldn't follow someone who only boasted of his strength. Gabble idolized an individual. For his sake, he had to display his complete competence. However, He left 1,000 warriors to guard the main chamber. It was occupied by only women and civilians. If they have... eh, If they have to, the women can also fight, but they lack the necessary strength. For that reason, he had been sending 500 extra troops at a time to the main chamber. That is, Gabble decided to gradually reinforce that defensive line with troops fighting in the tunnels. Having cleared thus relocated the troops, Gabble obtained control over the army, the entire army. Their numbers, 7,000 goblins and 8,000 lizardmen. Losing words. That was his fighting strength. Without depending on the labyrinth, he proceeded to meet his foe above ground, and leaving the bare minimum for defense, he deployed everyone to battle. The first attack was as described. They successfully divided the enemy and landed a devastating attack on their flanks. The orcs that the lizardmen scattered were hunted down by the goblins. Following Gabble's orders to the letter, the troops performed exceedingly well. The goblins, too, fought earnestly. Thus, they were able to advance with the rest of the troops. The success of the attack could thus be attributed to the ideal cooperation of individual units. Behold, Gabble thought, there is no need to fear the orcs.
Father has gone senile. This he worried needlessly. I will calm his fears.
After seeing my heroic
Feats, he will surely recognize me as the next head.
This is him talking to himself, by the way.
For that end, we must clean up the orcs at once.
Or maybe this whole scenario was planned out to pass the leadership on to me. So he thought. A cry for joy filled the field. That's a hard way to say that.
Look at them. The lowly orcs are no match for the great lizard men.
Proud of his work, Gabble observed the battlefield. Things have gone well. Until now. Having lost many soldiers, the orcs must have been walloping in despair. That should have said wallowing. But Gabble did not know the terror of the Orc Lord. That the head had known the terror of the Orc Lord, that difference now bared its fangs.
Kucha, 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 kucha.
The orcs were walking on the dead, on all fours, crawling over them. No, wait, they were not walking on them, they were eating them. A gruesome sight. The brave lizardman warriors, hardened in many battles, this was an unusual sight. A sinister aura wrapped around the orcs. One warrior who was frightened by this sight tried to retreat a step and fell backwards. Without missing his chance, the orcs swarmed the warrior. He was dragged into the mud and ripped limb from limb. Since the war had begun, he was the first casualty, and that began it all. The orcs that were devouring stranded soldiers gradually obtained their abilities. That ability was not like Predator, and could not perfectly replicate the skills. Nonetheless, they absorbed the lizardmen's power to some degree, and shared it among those in their domain. That was one of the effects of the unique skill, Starving Ones. They were as much one swarm as they were an individual. Again, quite similar to the shared evolution of the fangwolf species. That is why the previous head was so afraid of letting any lizardmen die, for the sake of not allowing the orcs to develop any further. Although they could not obtain all the abilities of those that they ate, they could still acquire some of their special features. For example, the ability of the lizardmen to move freely through the mud and swamps. For example, growing scales around their vital areas to defend. This kind of trivial change they could do. Next page. Come on. However, that is how they can quickly change the tide of battle.
Fear not. Show them the power of the high and proud lizard men.
The lizard men regained their morale from Gabble's cry. They were rulers of the marshes, fighting on their own land. They attacked again. They were still faster than the orcs. That much they were sure of. Even if they are overwhelmed by numbers, should they retreat to their defense lines, they could surely crush the enemy again. However, when they tried to outflank the orcs again, they were met with a ready formation. The orcs' movements have gotten faster. Strange, thought Gabble, but far too late. Without the advantage in speed, they were now surrounded by many orcs. 5,000 troops have already cut off Gabble's escape, and they pressed their attack. Having too much faith in their speed, they blindly pursued the... Honestly? Can anybody initiate a vote kick on that?
Wait, what happened?
Can you not hear it?
No.
No.
I can hear a Kanagang song.
I can't hear it either.
No.
I
must
can
have
hear
that
it as
button
well.
blocked.
I don't know where it's coming from though.
I'll go find the motherfucker. Give me a
I
second.
can't hear anything.
It might be due to the bug. It might sound like it's coming from my ear.
Yeah, I
Or
can
someone's
hear
walking
it.
outside the map.
Yeah, it sounds like it's coming from behind the stage.
Indeed. Is anybody able to fly up above to see if there's someone there?
Oh, I found him.
God damn it.
Yeah, I hate that
people
song
have to
too,
ruin things.
Magnanix.
There you go,
Yeah, the
vote
song's
kicks out by Leroy.
Accepted it.
Take care, my
Everybody
friend.
accept the vote. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Leroy. You're a godsend.
He was at the
All
spawn
right.
still. What a bit.
Thank you, Leroy.
Map wide. That's
Whoever's
just
friend that
obnoxious.
is.
I've remembered the name. I'll send it to someone
Revenge
later.
X.
Yes. Underscore. Okay, where did I get up to? I've already forgotten. The lizard men regained their morale from Gabble's cry.
Cheers, Leroy.
Perhaps if the orcs were not under the influence of their lord, Gabble's group could have endured this predicament. One could continue discussing such suppositions without an end. The truth of the matter is, they were completely surrounded. As ants block off their prey's escape, so the orcs swarmed them. Even if they fought with all their might, they will surely succumb soon. How could that be? Gabble could not understand. He desperately tried to rally his forces, screaming words of encouragement. However, the goblins had lost formation out of panic, and the lizardmen trembled in worry. This is bad. Thinking thus, he wanted to issue the order to retreat, but even he understood that they had no place to run to. To gather them all under his banner, he had forced the warriors to vacate the caverns. Even if he had ordered a desperate retreat into the tunnels, the entrance was far too narrow. Page turn. Any second now. Oh. The goblins who would be running in first would obstruct their escape, and, without a way in, they would be slaughtered by the orcs. If they instead ran into the forest, they would be pursued and slaughtered again. They could not retreat. Gabble understood that well. Why had his father fought in such a cowardly way? He had finally understood. Just how much of an idiot was I? Thought Gabble. But there was no time for regrets now. Right now, Gabble had only one thing he could do: increase the morale and lessen the worries of his comrades.
What worried faces you all make! I am here! There is no way I can lose to some orcs!
Yes, to encourage his allies by saying something he himself did not believe. Their fate had been decided.
Leroy's here. And
The lizard man's head sighed. He was full of regrets. That for one, he had mentioned the terror that Orc Lord was in fairy tales. No, he had mentioned it at other occasions. However, the fact that he failed to convey this terror now caused the head endless regret. Had he explained it properly, maybe Gabble would have been more vigilant. But now it's too late. With a sigh, he cast such thoughts away. They still had things they needed to do. His kind, gathered in the main chamber, looked anxious. 4 paths led to the chamber. One could be used to escape. The orcs could not come from the escape route, probably. It was a direct route into the forest. This was the only route that you couldn't get lost on. One that they had dug themselves. Therefore, they needed to observe the other 4. The units fighting in the tunnels slowly withdrew and tried to turn the page, reassembled in the main chamber. The chamber's defense line currently consisted of 1,500 soldiers. There were also probably some who have yet to withdraw. On the other hand, the orcs are numerous. Hopefully, They will probably soon discover this place. Hopefully, the remaining soldiers will return before they do. The head briefly glances down the escape route. With all their brethren gathering, the large chamber now feels very tight. If they had to escape at a moment's notice, it's hard to imagine them all being able to withdraw safely. Perhaps they need to begin evacuating small groups at a time. Whichever he chooses, the situation is bound to become chaotic. However, he must decrease the chance of extinction, no matter what it takes. However, even if they escape into the forest, the orcs will discover them sooner or later. And even if they are successful with their escape, surviving may prove impossible. Because of that, the head could not order the evacuation. The only thing he can do is buy time. Whether they come or not, he doesn't know, but he still bet all of his chips on getting the reinforcements. The head's suffering seemed as if it would continue on forever. Scene change. Lizardman's guard captain escaped into the forest. Feeling an aura of strength, he headed in its direction. Though the lizardman boasted of high mobility in the marshes, the same could not be said about the forest. His breath ragged, his pulse unstable, the captain fatigued quickly. However, he had kept running. His sprint could decide the future of his entire race. And like that, he continued for 3 hours. As if ignoring his bodily limits, he earnestly pressed on. Pressing on by will alone, he could collapse at any moment. He was well aware of that fact. It's a bit action-packed, I think. Moreover, he did not know if the demon named Soe was in fact up ahead. Whether he would agree to help, he also did not know. Should he even bother running? That thought crept from the dark corners of his mind. However, he refused to entertain the thought. He failed to stop Gabble's foolishness, so he believed. He had known that Gabble desired to be recognized by the head. However, he had not mentioned it to the head. The lizardman's hero, Gabble. He was also one of those who respected Gabble. To take responsibility for his mistake, the captain would not abandon his mission. If he stopped, he would not be able to run again. Thus, he pressed on. There was someone who saw this desperate sprint. Though the captain himself had not noticed that being pursued the captain soundlessly from branch to branch. Was he conversing with someone, without a partner in sight, and without a voice? He appeared to be in the middle of a conversation. After it had ended, he nodded once, and, "Your will be done. I will act as you have commanded." Muttering thus, he swooped down in front of the captain. Ooh. Going to grab another drink. I'm losing my voice. That's the end of that chapter, though. Thank you for all the hearts. Then let us continue. Chapter 35, Battle Preparation. After sending out Hoe, I had everyone else prepare for war. However, it's not like we were all going to set off. Since we don't know our enemy's abilities, we need to take it seriously from the start. The construction of the city is proceeding smoothly, but we have not prepared any fortifications. Thus, if we are attacked, relocating would be the best option. So I decided. So what are we to do in response to that thought? The decisive battle will occur at the marshes. If we win, great. If we lose, we'll retreat back here as fast as circumstances allow. In that case, since fighting here wouldn't increase our chances of winning, we will barricade ourselves in the cave of the seal, while... Oh, it's still the same. They've changed the font. We will barricade ourselves in the cave of the seal. While holding the fort, we will request help from the humans. If we request through the guild, they just might help. So prepare yourselves to evacuate at a moment's notice. Regarding our attack, I'm designating Benimaru as the captain in charge of the 100 Wolf Riders. Shion, you indiscriminately slaughter at your discretion. Hakuro, you will serve as my adjutant. I will create a network with telepathic communication for you all to join and issue command orders as needed. A withdrawal order will be given by your commander, me. Rigaru will stay with the remaining goblins and see to the defense of the city. Dismissed! I thus conveyed the plan. Everyone nodded, no one disagreed. I had thought that there would be some complaints about how requesting help from the humans, but seems like I was mistaken. I wonder if they have gotten over their aversion after spending some time with those adventurers. Probably. As for the guild request, if I sell the demonic steel, we should have enough gold. And besides, the orcs are as much a threat to... Sorry. Are as much a threat to the humans as well. If we hold a proper discussion, we should be able to gain their assistance. That much I probably shouldn't worry about. And besides, we're already trying to figure out just how dangerous this Orc Lord is. Anyways, am I cutting out for everyone? My map keeps loading for some reason. I keep getting the VRChat loading screen.
No,
Yeah.
Magnanix, you're fine, homie.
I'm getting
When
it.
it does happen, it's
So
not
weird.
noticeable.
Everything okay on my end?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like dropping out every 2 seconds. I don't like it.
It's happening to me
I'm
too.
getting
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Is
There's
it
a
someone
lot of
here?
cracking noises
Is it-
too.
Yeah.
Lauren!
I don't know. It's not someone
Lauren!
using a super over,
Oh fuck,
I don't know, draw called model or something, is it? Anyway, let me continue. That much I probably shouldn't worry about. And besides, we're already trying to figure out just how dangerous this Orc Lord is. Anyways, completing the goblin's armor takes priority. I had ordered Kaijin to quickly produce 100 armors. Benimaru, Hakuro, and Shion also need some armor. Before Soe returns with their response, we need to finish these preparations. If they reject our alliance, we will move as soon as we ascertain Gabble's motives. If we can fight side by side, we should wait for the lizard men to deal the first strike. Having thus decided, we concluded the conference. After dismissing the group, almost all immediately left. Only the 3 Oni and I were left inside. Do they want something? I looked inquisitively at Benimaru.
Rimuru-sama, do you perhaps worry too much? Even if you do not trouble yourself to ride into the battlefield, Hakuro and I alone should manage. Would you not agree? As he said, Rimuru-sama, you are our lord. Commanding the battle can be left to us, if you so wish.
So they said. No, that won't do at all. I mean, you guys have been had by the orcs before. But of course, I didn't say that. We shouldn't count that time before they had evolved. Well, that should be fine. I just plan to observe the battle from above and leave the orders to Benimaru.
I see, so it's like that.
They agreed with my words. In the first place, I have never commanded a battle. While I've ran plenty of simulations, I have no actual experience. Thus, as I observe from above, I intend to devote myself fully to relaying orders. That aside, you guys, get yourselves ready, unless you are planning on fighting a war in the nude. Nodding at my words, the 3 Oni. Okay, the 3 Oni nodded at his words. And thus we headed towards the production building, dedicated to the Department of Production. We are completely cut off then. A building as large as a gymnasium made of wood. We had planned on renovating and reinforcing the walls with mortar, but have yet to get around to it. Still, the building is the largest in its kind, and it looks pretty impressive. Upon entering, we are assaulted by the noise of hard labor. At my order, they are busy producing 100 sets of armor. Well, actually, only the dwarf Garm and Doldo are making things, with 10 apprentice goblins assisting them. The rest are preparing raw materials and transporting completed products. We proceed further in. Recently, they've also warded off rooms for specialized products. Only Shuna can enter the rooms. The rest are forbidden. She is far too skilled and teaching others will take too long. Goblinas were also learning the textile craft, and are right now working under Garm, producing hemp linen clothing. Gradually, they should move on to finer work with silk, since under the armor one must first wear linen. We proceeded towards Shuna's room, and, after I announced ourselves, entered. Shuna greeted us with a smile. I don't know when it happened, but I suddenly found myself wrapped in a beautiful kimono. Not pure white, but dyed in a pale crimson color. Needless to say, it was cute. Standing up from a chair, I had been waiting. I wished to participate in the conference myself, but feared unable to contribute better than with a meal. I humbly ask your forgiveness. However, I had finished preparing Rimuru-sama's dress, and Oni-sama, and the rest, by the way. By the way, huh?
That's only to be expected. Well, considering Shuna's marvelous skill, I would presume mine...
Come on. Bloody thing. I would presume mine to be made as well. The three thus responded. Here they are. With those words, she brought out more dresses, a pure white kimono. Having received mine, I was guided to a room to change. First, I entered and began changing into my child form that wore the black fur coat. Removing the coat, I wrapped myself in the kimono that Shuna had made. A glossy linen, first-class silk that feels wonderful to the touch. Underneath, I'll probably wear the pants I previously received. Putting the silk to my body, it immediately changed its size to fit me. This one also became a magic item, huh? Seems like after mixing with my magic, it becomes as if part of my body. Just to try, I changed into an adult and, as expected, the clothing grew appropriately. What a wonderful product she had made. Wearing the coat over it, I finished with the clothing. Then I took out the item from my breast pocket. It was a beautiful mask, the one Shizu-san had forgotten, and the anti-demon mask. My body radiates a small amount of magical energy as an aura. If I focus, I can conceal it, but there have been times when I have accidentally let it spill. Thus, I plan to use this mask to hide it. It had broken once before, but I had Doldo repair it. I equipped the mask. Strange, but it makes me feel calm. Normally, since I don't need to breathe, I don't do it even as a human. I could create lungs if I wanted to, but since I don't see a need to, I haven't made them. However, when wearing a mask, I can pretend to be breathing, and it doesn't feel strange. Okay, when we head out into the world, let's use this appearance. Returning to my child form, I had so decided. Wearing the clothing, I exit the fitting room. Praising my looks for a while, Shuna continued to help the other Oni. This clothing, absorbing the aura of its wearer, it can change its appearance. My clothing turned jet black, Benimaru's blood red, Hakuro's pure white. Shion's, of course, turned purple. It'd be strange if it turned orange or something. Seems like even this clothing rips as long as it absorbs our Seems like even if this clothing rips, as long as it absorbs our magical energy, it can repair itself. Magic items completely specialized for our use. Truly magnificent. And I must admit that I was surprised when I heard that we can change how the clothing looks at will. Makes changing clothing seem kind of pointless, doesn't it? In the first place, had you bought this, you might just wear it for the rest of your life. I don't know how good human magic items are, but this one is worthy of an A-rank appraisal, a very high-quality product. Thus, I can probably expect some great weapon from Kurobi. After saying thanks and taking Soei's clothing with us, we took our leave. The next place we stopped by was Kurobi's smithy. Recently, he has been so busy with production that he hasn't even shown his face around the city. That he's fine in there, I know. He's probably the type that gets engrossed in what he loves. Seems like he's been working in there without sleep for the past few days. Kaijin had mentioned it before the conference. The door to his room was open. Kaijin had provided him with a set of tools he took from the kingdom. Next to his room stands a warehouse where it deposited the materials I kept. The demon's steel I also deposited there as a material. Oh my god, sorry, this is really poorly translated. As a material also there, but I just help. What the hell? But I just help but think of iron ore as unreliable. But I can't help but think of iron ore as reliable. We had wanted to investigate the nearby mountains for any iron ore deposits, but planned it for a later day. Because of ongoing construction, there have been few too few hands around here. From within the room, the sound of clashing metal and heat of the furnace leaked. This is the only place with a high-temperature furnace, made with packed, baked clay, a furnace we had built. Though it was made with my fire manipulation ability, it came out pretty well. I plan to later analyze this furnace and increase the number of them in the village. I have a ton of plans, but not enough hands. That aside, having noticed us, Kurobi came out, showing his whole face. I have been waiting. By all means, come and behold. He greeted us with a face that wanted to boast of his products. 2 hours had passed. We were listening to the explanation with eyes devoid of life. It's fine already. We get it. We get it. It's amazing. I had wanted to say those words many times, but just couldn't bring myself to do it. Seeing Kurobe's happy face stopped me. What can I began thinking thus. Rimuru-sama, Would now be a good time? Telepathically, I was asked by Soe. I had sent him to offer an alliance, but did he encounter trouble? Could he be lost? After leaving, looking so cool, only to come back saying, "My bad. I have no clue where to go. Where is it?" Even the benevolent me would get mad at that. I had begun worrying slightly, but of course the worry was needless. With a voice free of worry, I had met with the lizardman's head. He accepted our offer. However, he wishes for us to journey there. What did he say? To have arrived already? Isn't it too fast? Not even half a day has passed since the conference ended. Come on. That's no problem. If anything, I was planning on settling it there anyways. And besides, you already arrived? Ah, yes. By moving through the shadows, I arrived at the marshes without great difficulty. If it were to someone I knew, I could have moved instantly. That aside, when shall we hold the strategy meeting? That aside, isn't it a damn amazing skill, that shadow stuff? I can also use it, but was it that amazing? I haven't used it that much yet, though. That was a surprise. Oh well. Yeah. Preparations will take some time, and we'll also need to account the time it takes for the Wolf Riders to travel there. Set it for 5 days from now. Understood. I shall do as you command. After the negotiations end, come back if you have to. As a clone. As you will. He handled the negotiations well. What a useful guy. We are quite... That lag is really starting to annoy me, sorry. We are quite a distance away from the marshes. If marching by foot, it would take 2 weeks. The wolves could... The wolves could run it in 3 days. That lizard Gabble came riding on some big monster, but we shouldn't arrive before him. There's a chance he will strike us in the back. Rather, observing the situation and seizing the initiative should be something that we will do. After thinking about these things, I tuned in to the never-ending explanation. I apologize for my belated appearance. So I appeared from the shadows, just like a ninja. Giving him his clothing, I asked him to change. At Soe's appearance, Kurobi seems to have come back from his own little world. He cleared his throat and brought out a number of swords. We finally see what we came for. He showed us 6 swords. Simple, straight sword. An elegant tachi, shaped like a cane, a katana, a massive odachi, and 2 ninjato. Pleased with his creations, he lined them up, and thus said, "For Rimuru-sama, I offer this straight sword. This is but a base. It is not yet complete. We wish to create a weapon from the demonic steel, as Rimuru-sama has suggested. That is our goal, but Kaijin and I are busily researching towards that end. Therefore, please wait some more. Until then, please keep the sword inside you." With these words, he handed me the sword. I see, they are still continuing their research. Makes me excited. Something to look forward to. Got it. With a nod, I deposit the sword into my stomach, to let it mix with my magic in there. Kurobe nods once, and hands me another sword. "This is a prototype among prototypes. Please honor us by using it as a replacement." I'll happily put it to use, using the skills I have been learning from Hakuro recently. Really wanted to have a sword, thus I hang it on my hip. Somehow it makes me feel strong. And each one of us receives a sword. Benimaru the tachi, Akuro the katana, Shion the odachi. How will she draw it? It's a freaking huge katana. Please fret not. The scabbard is made from magical energy. It will disappear when you wish, is what he said. It looks so heavy that a normal person couldn't use it. Even Kaijin would be hard-pressed to wield it. The dwarves also have some bizarre strength, but can barely lift it with both hands. Shion, however, holds it easily in a single hand. Soe came back after changing, and took the 2 ninjato, a 2-sword style, Somehow it fits him. After we had taken our weapons, Garm stopped by. He had finished on his armor. Seems like he was running out of iron, so... Thus, he was unable to create the full plate armor. Instead, he made it out of the monster material, scale mail. Much like the ones they had given to the adventurer Cabal before. This too seems to have been affected by my magical energy. Created partially from the demonic steel I had, it is considerably stronger than the test product. To me, however, He gave dark leather guards, and thus we finished preparing our equipment. The following day, the goblins have finished their preparations. With 1 week's worth of provision, they wait for us. Next comes the decisive battle. Only bring enough food to get there and back. If we burden the troops with too much, we'll lose speed. Mobility is everything. If we fail, we must run. I had thought preparing provisions would take 2 days, but seeing how they were already ready, we managed to finish early. Well, though I said 5 days, there should be no problem with coming early, right? The enemy is the Orc Lord. Now, advance! I simply declared. If we lose, then that's that. We proceed as the fate follows. Sorry, as fate allows. The simpler the goal, the better. To my declaration, the troops responded with a battle cry. A shout capable of shattering the enemy's hearts filled the forest. The goblins atop the wolves are the main force, though there are many new members among them. The goblins that ride the storm wolves are the elite among them. Morale is high. And, having thus seen their spirit, my own worries were depleted or dispelled. We shall win. And I'm lagging out again. Enjoying this too much is probably bad. However, riding into battle while imagining defeat is also no good. Riding towards the marshes, towards war, we thus set off. And that's the end of that chapter. Oh. Everyone still with me? If the lag is getting too crazy, we might...
Yeah, I'm still here.
Could you stop that?
Yeah,
Whoever's
all
doing
good,
that particle
Magna.
effect up there?
So, Magna,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel the lag too in the voice.
Yeah, I keep like
It's mainly
disconnecting
the number of
slightly.
people in this room.
You know,
So,
Magna,
the number of
I was
people
sitting
here
here
have
listening to you.
unoptimized avatars.
Wait, hang on. I was sitting here listening to you while eating pizza and drinking some beautiful green tea. And I start to realize something.
What?
Your voice is seriously orgasmic.
You just realized this.
No, I've been realizing it. I just thought I would tell him again.
Well, don't orgasm with pizza in your mouth.
It's the best kind of orgasm.
Oh dear. Well, since the lag is getting extremely bad, I might do one more chapter and then call it for the night.
Alrighty,
Alright,
Magna.
I'm going to switch
Is that
to
okay
VR
with
now.
everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Because this
Yeah,
is
that's alright.
quite difficult to read when the screen keeps
Great.
flashing in front of me. All right, let us continue then. Onward with the story. Chapter 36, Participation in the War. 3 days have passed since we departed. We had been able to reach the marshes. Since we couldn't replenish our water reserves along the way, I had used the water from my stomach, but it seems to also have filled everyone with power. Come to think of it, since it constantly flows within my magic, this may just be This just may be the water's acquired effect. When departing, we focused on minimizing luggage to maximize our speed. Thanks to that, we were able to arrive sooner than expected. Before we continue our advance, we must confirm this current situation. The meeting with the Lizardmen's chief is scheduled for tomorrow, and we have yet to have any cause for concern. Thus, I ordered everyone to stand by and take a break. Tension filled the air. Now, for the reconnaissance. Rimuru-sama, I shall go. Soe immediately offered. He was not wearing any armor. Instead, he was wearing a chainmail woven from my steel thread. No questions about it. It was built for agility. According to him, I won't be hit, so there's no need. According to him, he won't be hit, so there was no need for armor. Such were the smug and brisk words of this handsome guy. I see. I somehow managed to reply. This time, too, I can entrust mission to him with confidence. Okay then, Soe. Go, confirm the situation for me. If possible, go check how good the ability of the pig boss is. Saying so, I sent him out. Surely, he will discover many interesting things with his exceedingly high ability. Rimuru-sama, would you mind if we rampage as we liked this time? Benimaru had asked. Frankly, since I had no idea about the situation, I couldn't say. Thus, I don't mind, but can you properly withdraw once I order the retreat? So I say. Benimaru sported a fearless smile. That signal, I think it would be unnecessary. After all, it will be annihilation, won't it? Such self-confidence. You too, huh? So I thought. Good men are full of confidence, was it? If we win. Was acting so smug, but lost anyways. Were that to happen, the embarrassment would be intolerable. This guy probably doesn't worry about such things, right? Oh well, don't be careless, okay? So I said, and ended the conversation with a shrug. Shion was entranced, admiring her sword. Soon she would be allowed to rampage as she liked. Such a smile appeared on her face. Had she not been so ditzy, she'd have been cool. That girl, entranced with her sword, makes a really dangerous impression. Let's act like we hadn't seen it, shall we? That's the best thing for my mental health. As expected from Hakuro, he was calm as usual, or should I say, as bright and clean as a stainless mirror. Truly a dignified presence that comes from a skilled person. However, no opponents to sink my teeth in, he murmured, but my ears didn't miss it. Seriously, I wonder if all ogre people were this overconfident. They had lost once against the same opponent, so I'd think they would be more wary in this situation. Such worries caused me to let out a sigh. But my worries were completely unnecessary. That was proven almost immediately later. 2 hours later would now be acceptable. Confirming the battle formation, I received a telepathic message. What? Did you find something? Yes, I found the next page button. No, just a single lizardman. He is running in our direction. What? Do you understand why? Yes, according to the information from the clones, the war has already begun in the marshes, although I had warned them not to act alone. Oh, is the one who's leading them the lizardman named Gabble? That guy that was pointlessly overconfident? That is likely. What should I do regarding the lizardmen? The war had already begun, but has the outcome been decided yet? Rather, maybe we had made it in the nick of time. Need to confirm the state of the battle from above. Well, about the lizardmen. Let's hear his story. Whether it was the decision of the chief or not, we need to confirm their intentions. As you will. I cut the connection. So, it had begun. I thought that we could enjoy a long-awaited break, but the circumstances seemed to dictate otherwise. So addressing everyone, listen, the break's over. The war has begun. From now on, I will command from above. You guys follow my command. Prepare yourselves for war! Hearing my words, everyone's faces tightened. Understood! For honor and glory! That was everyone's replies. Shion replied and Benimaru nodded. Hakuro casually walked forward. I sprouted wings from my back. The wings opened a hole in the clothes, but once the wings disappeared, the holes would close. At my pleasure, the clothing would change its form, a truly convenient ability. It's an order. I forbid you to die. This war is not a decisive battle. Make no mistake. Hearing my words, "Ah!" They let out a battle cry. While nodding, I soared into the sky. Sorry if my shouting is too loud for everyone. From above, I observed the battle. What cannot be seen with the naked eye alone is clearly visible with my magical perception. Almost as if you were observing with a satellite far beyond the clouds, the current situation was bad for the lizardmen. Clearly, the situation had degraded to where they could not do anything, and were surrounded. They somehow managed to hold the orcs back, which was caused, it seems, by the desperate encouragements from their commanders. Who has their mic open?
He stopped
Please
it. He
close
muted it. He muted it.
Okay. They somehow managed to hold the orcs back, which was caused, it seems, by the desperate encouragements from their commander. Okay. However, they clearly wouldn't last much longer. That commander looks familiar. Ah, it's Gabble. I had thought that he was just a fool, but it seems I had underestimated him. For a commander, it is fatal to not be able to see the bigger picture. However, no one would expect a young commander who lacks experience to properly observe the entire theater. In any age and in any country, not every commander is an excellent one. Should he, however, survive and learn from this experience, he just might become an excellent one. It's a pity for him to die here, so I thought. Then I issued orders. Benimaru, hear my wish. First, the encircled lizardmen. Help them. After that, do as you like. The details you will hear from Hakuro. Replying happily to my orders. Understood. Is it okay if I go there with Ranga? I leave it to you. Thus, I have begun to change the tides of war. In fact, above the clouds, thinking while observing the armies, clash, and being able to understand their every movement gives me a sense of overwhelming superiority. I must also note that that through thought transmission, the aerial information can be transmitted to every soldier. Information tactics of modern warfare can be implemented in a fantasy world. Unlike conventional armies, the amount of information provided is vastly different. With this, it is be possible even. It will be possible even for an individual unit to maneuver well. Actually, this makes individual movement possible. When I was thus thinking, Soe called. Rimuru-sama, apparently their flank was taken. The chief's son, Gabble, had caused a rebellion. Furthermore, the chief was confined in an underground chamber. They have also been attacked by the orcs, and anxiety spreads among their forces. I see. So he was his son. Moreover, we shouldn't let anything happen to the chief. Thus, I had an idea. Soy, can you leap to the former chief with Shadow Step? So I asked him. Since they met once, it should be possible. It is possible. Shall I go now? I leave it to you. Assist the chief and do with the orcs in the caves as you please. I will. Would you have another minute? Shadow Step. Let's practice that when the war ends. As I was thinking so, Soe called out. Seems like he had more to say. What? Is there something else? Aye. The clones have reported suspicious monsters in every direction across the marshes. They have decent magical power, high-ranking individuals. How should I proceed? What? Could it be a trap? Even so, what kind of trap? We wouldn't know. How many have you confirmed? Yes, I was able to confirm 4 individuals. Unfortunately, there could be more. However, I don't feel any other auras. I see. Is it possible to dispose of them? If doing it simultaneously, it may be possible with 2 clones. It may take time, but I can eliminate all of them. Truly an outstanding guy. Somehow, I feel it's best to dispose of them simultaneously. Just what are they? That much is unclear. But would killing them be bad? I don't know whether they are an enemy or not. 2 clones at the same time. Is it possible to neutralize them without killing? Absolutely, it is possible. Send me the information about their position. I will send Shion and Hakuro. In that case, please have them contact me. We will neutralize the targets together. I entrust it to you. I told Shion and Hakuro about the situation. Absolutely no killing. Just knock them out, I ordered. I don't know who they are, and I don't have any high-class demon acquaintances. Since they stand in every direction, they are either scouts or setting traps. They haven't noticed us, and are clearly not a part of the lizardmen's fighting strength. But this is too late for reconnaissance, so are they from the Orc army? That also seems doubtful. Pointless, in my opinion. A third party. Suddenly, I thought that. Perhaps there are beings who are confirming the situation as we are. Well, if they are successfully captured, I will ask them then. I don't know if I can make them talk, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's unlikely that the demons came by the humans' orders, since they are rather antagonistic. Since thinking about it wouldn't help, I decided to stop. I issued orders and observed the situation. Lizardmen's side had begun to succumb to pressure. They will surely fall soon. For all I know, the chief was meeting a similar fate in the caverns. Soe already dispatched his clones, but I wonder if his main body is unaffected. My head was filled with many worries at this late hour. I issued an order. They followed it. Someone was incompetent if he takes more than that. More than he can do. Oh, this is so poorly written. Once, when I was still a rookie in the company, the chief often got mad at me and said, "Do not take more work than you can manage yourself." When the person in question stagnates, everyone will be affected. Since then, I avoided reckless action, always taking on only as much work as I knew I could handle. This time, the gifted one can't understand. They wouldn't know whether the job I gave them was possible. I pray that they are not incompetent, and that they do not call me an incompetent lord. For now, I think I'll just continue to observe the situation. If they face trouble, I will immediately send help. Scene change. Well, after finishing the telepathy, Soe wears a thin smile. He feels he was able to help his lord. For Soe, Benimaru, who is son of the lord, was not his lord. Similar of age, Soe treats him as a rival. Someday he considered to serve under him, but it was not meant to be. Instead, they began to serve a lord named Rimuru. I am fortunate, he thought. A time of peace had continued for a while. Symbolizing strength, the ogres had no opponents in the forest. Recently, even lesser dragons had not caused any commotions. He had thought that the peace was a good thing. However, they also wanted to use the skills that they have obtained. Such was their earnest wish. Then they were attacked by the orc army. He could do nothing at all, and left without avenging his lord and fallen comrades. I am fortunate, he thought. Under the new lord, he was given the opportunity to avenge his former lord. Negligence born of pride that he currently did not have. For the lord, he had polished his techniques or skills, all to eliminate his enemies. Being commanded filled him with the highest of pleasures. Soe calmly creates 2 clones of himself, and I will catch 2 presences. Hakuro and Shion go to the south and west, confirming using telepathy. They acknowledged his request. Each of the clones went to the north and east. He himself sunk into the shadows and disappeared. He was going to meet up with the Lizardmen's chief. The high-class demons were not his enemies right now. He understands that much. After receiving Soe's request, Hakuro and Shio exchanged glances. They nodded. So, I guess I'm off to the west. Very well. I am going south. After a short conversation, they run off. They disappear from the spot with high speed. Seeing their departure, can't be the last one to leave. The main force led by Benimaru began to move. Soundlessly, like the wind, the storm-fanged wolves galloped into battle. The goblins ride in enthusiasm. They move in accordance to Rimuru order. So extreme was their joy that they felt their very blood dance in delight. You guys felt the same, right? Benimaru thought so. He was aware of his carefree personality. That's why he remembered the hesitation he felt when faced with the need to take over the ogre tribe as a village chief. Right now, however, he had no such choice. Thus, he liked his current position. With Rimuru as the lord, he served. As one of the military commanders, he merely wished to rampage to his heart's content. Had he become chief, he could not ride off into battle thus. But now was different. He can participate without any concern. Benimaru continues to sprint. He can't stop his blood from boiling. Scene change again. Soe, Hakuro, Shion had confirmed that they had arrived at their destinations. To prevent their presences from being noticed, they concealed themselves. In front of each of them, a suspicious demon was visible. They confirmed their observations and found their opinions to match. This demon was a familiar of a high devil, which specialized in reconnaissance. Just in case, Soe conveyed to the 2, I'm going to report this to Rimuru-sama. Our lord would surely be troubled if suddenly beset by 3 reports. The 2 reluctantly agreed, as the one with the best telepathy was Soe. Clumsy Shion was only good at receiving. She swore in her heart to continue practicing. After receiving the 2's permission, Rimuru-sama, the presence of demons was confirmed. It is a familiar of a high devil, which specializes in reconnaissance. Are you sure you want to capture them? In my opinion, that we killed them will not be discovered, so there is no cause for further concern. To Rimuru, he sent such a message with telepathy. I leave it to you. So was the response. With the other 2 discussing the timing, they decided to simultaneously eliminate the 4 scouts. Hakuro would signal. At the same time as Hakuro's commands, his slash gleaming, the monster before Hakuro is cut down and disappears. As if sucked into the shadows, as if consumed by the ground, 2 more demons are crushed. Soe's kills. After one thunderous slash, the demon was blown away without a trace. Shion's target. All happened within the same second. The slash that Shion had put all her strength into, after blowing the demon away, lost none of its momentum and continued onward. So great was the momentum that it had reached the outskirts of the marshes and cut down many orcs, and that attack signaled Rimuru's participation in the battle. And that, my friends, is the end of... of chapter 36. We will continue our reading next weekend, as we begin chapter 37, Encounter Benimaru and Ranga.
Good job, Magna.
What they got?
That's pretty good.
That's great.
Would everyone like to
voice is
gather on
awesome,
stage for a group photo?
Uh,
Keep